Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I apologize, we have a lot of hearings in different parts of the building, in this case in the Capitol. And I wanted to start with where Senator Cotton was when he was introducing you, which he referred to you as a bold truth teller. I have behind me two pictures that were taken at about the same time of day in 2009 and 2017. Which crowd is larger, the 2009 crowd or the 2017 crowd?
Senator, if you allow me to give the disclaimer that I'm not really sure how this ties to OMB, I'll be happy to answer your question, which was from that picture. It does appear that the crowd on the left-hand side is bigger than the crowd on the right-hand side.
Thank you. The President disagreed about this in his news report. He said, it's a lie. We caught them. We caught them in a beauty, referring to the press reporting. He says it looked like 1.5 million people. The reason I'm raising this is because budget often contain buried deceptions. You and I talked in my office about the magic asterisks. This is an example of where the President's team, on something very simple and straightforward, wants to embrace a fantasy rather than a reality. In fact, it's come up a lot because Sean Spicer, the press secretary, said that the photographers framed their photos to minimize the enormous support on the mall. In other words, a conspiracy thesis, and went on to say it was the largest audience to witness an inauguration, period. I gather you would disagree with the press secretary.
Well, again, I'm happy to comment on the photograph.
With your caveat.
I'm not familiar with the statements. So I do agree that the photographs were as you represented them.
Thank you. Chuck Todd noted in his conversation with Kellyanne Curry that you had just had a press secretary at the start of his time in office present a falsehood to the press and to the American people. And Kellyanne Conway responded, you're saying it's a falsehood. Sean Spicer gave alternative facts. Are you comfortable, as you proceed as a key budget advisor, presenting falsehoods as simply an alternative fact?
As you and I discussed in your office, I have every intent and believe that I have shown up until this point in my time in Congress that I am deadly serious about giving you hard numbers, and I intend to follow through on that.
One of the false facts that's been repeated in previous budgets is to say that tax cuts for corporations and tax cuts for the rich in America will increase revenue. I've gone through the numbers from 1981, from 2001, 2003. I'm sure you're familiar with this. Did President Reagan's 1981 tax cut increase or decrease revenue?
Senator, we just had a chance to discuss that with Senator King, and I'll invite him to do the same. You to do the same thing I invited him to do, which is, as I commit to you to take a fact-based approach to the budget, I would welcome any information you have on those types of matters.
Are you unfamiliar with the 1981 tax cut?
I'm familiar with it. Generally, I was.
Did revenue go up or down in the 2 or 3 years following that?
I honestly don't remember, sir.
Okay, it went down. In 2001, President Bush's tax cut, did it increase or decrease revenue?
I do not know.
It went down substantially. In his 2003 tax cut, did it increase or decrease revenue?
I'm not familiar with the numbers.
So if you review the numbers and you see that this is a falsehood, this argument, this kind of magic gift, if we can cut taxes for the rich and powerful, but somehow it'll increase revenue, if you find that that's false, will you take that truth, the falsity of that often repeated claim, and make sure the President knows what's true and what's false?
Senator, let me answer your question this way, and I'll try to be as straightforward as I can. In order to do the best possible job for the President, I think it's incumbent upon me to present him with all possible cogent arguments on both sides. And if there is data that, and I have no reason to think you're lying to me, I actually believe you to be telling the truth, but if there's data that backs that up, if there's academic studies, I intend to use those, just as I would if there are academic studies on the other side of that argument.
Often this strategy is used to say, and this is particularly true, unfortunately, in Republican administrations, that this is a way we can claim to be fiscally responsible while doing a lot of favors for very powerful people we like, and not talking about the many giveaways that are already in the tax code for the very rich and powerful. There's a CBO study that lays out an extensive list. I think it's a 2011 study. I'll be happy to, I won't put it in the record so it's so long, but I'll be happy to make sure you have a copy that goes through multitudinous strategies for improving the deficit, decreasing the deficit. But a lot of those things that would improve the deficit are the result of tax code positions taken that are making the affluent more affluent and increasing income inequality. Will you take a serious look at these opportunities and not just be in the mode of let's cut taxes on the rich and decrease services for struggling American families?
And I think it was Senator Whitehouse and I who discussed this earlier, but I told him that I think that maybe he and the president were getting to the same conclusion by different roads, which is that the tax code needs to be reformed so that it is fairer and simpler.
But a strategy that decreases taxes on the rich while decreasing programs for struggling families, would you oppose or support that?
Again, my job will be to advise the president of the economic ramifications of all of the options that are presented to him.
Your sense of internal justice, though, is that just?
I'm
Decreasing taxes on the rich, decreasing programs for struggling American families.
Again, Senator, I'm not in a position to give a comment on a tax plan I haven't seen yet. If you're asking my sense of justice of robbing from the rich and giving to the poor?
No, that wasn't what I was asking.
Okay.
But tax fairness for the rich and program fairness for struggling families.
Agree with you on tax fairness, yes, sir.